Good morning, or good morning, right? We do this in the morning. Good morning, everyone. We are the Jedi Archives doing the Acolyte After Show. My name's John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Bryce.
Today we are reviewing episode 7.
Choice.
Heist? What do you say?
Choice.
It drives me nuts because I can't ever look at the title unless I go back. It doesn't show it to you in the beginning. I always got to go back, so I always forget to go back. So
yeah, it just tells you in the menu.
Mm-hmm.
So all right. So can we predict next week's episode then, if it's going to do the duality thing? So today's choice. Next week is what's the duality of choice?
At this point, I don't think I can predict what's going to happen next week. I mean, this entire episode was like, a very good episode in my mind, but it was everything that happened from what episode was it, 2 or 3?
Three.
From episode 3, like all the information that we've been longing for. I guess the only thing I can predict is that we're not going to get that flashback. It's going to go to Sol and May and the ship, and then we're going to get what happens, I guess.
Well, I think we're going to get May and Sol meeting up with Chimere and Osha, and there's going to be some kind of action there.
I think that's probably a given. I think we might actually see the Jedi Council next week.
Well, Vernestra, maybe.
Well, I think for sure Vernestra.
I don't know about the council.
I don't know. I think they have the
council.
I don't think they have the budget for the council. I think that's what we get, the cheaper budget. So we don't get the Yodas and the.
But you know what? Headland said we're going to see at least 2 Sith in this season.
Maybe we already have.
Well, we've seen one for sure, which is Chimere, the Stranger. But
yeah, I mean, he doesn't really refer to himself as a Sith, but I mean, every indication is that.
Well,
that
he
is
sort of
he
did.
is.
He told Sol, "You might call me a Sith." So
Right, but you might call me a Sith, but he doesn't identify. That's what he is. He just says that's what you might call me, because then he doesn't say I'm looking for, I'm not looking for an apprentice. I'm looking for an acolyte, which is not part of the rule of 2. It's always been master and apprentice.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, one thing I'm kind of learning more how the rule of two works. It sounds like when the apprentice is ready to take over for the master, they get an acolyte and help them kill the master, and now the acolyte will become the apprentice. The apprentice will become the master. So I'm thinking that's how it's kind of. Maybe that's what he's kind of vying for, because that makes more sense. Why would you go? Wouldn't you rather do 2 against 1? I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah.
I mean, and that's very plausible, but we're getting really close to like the Plagueis Palpatine.
Well, I think a lot of coups don't go through when it comes to Sith. I don't know what you call hierarchy. I think the master probably wins a lot of the times, and goes through a lot of apprentices and their acolytes.
Just like Palpatine did. Palpatine went through a bunch.
Yeah, so I think that might happen more often than we think, especially when it comes to them threat. Because there was also, wasn't there a Maul and his buddy?
Maul, Dooku, and then Anakin. Those were the apprentices to Palpatine that we know of.
So
but the weird thing is that So we knew, Maul was an apprentice, but he didn't have an acolyte.
Well, eventually he did. Remember, he got his brother, and him and his brother kind of were like that was gonna be the plan.
But they were no longer Sith.
And they even went up against him. They just got handed.
Yeah, but he didn't consider himself a Sith at that point because he knew he had been replaced by Dooku.
He was just Maul at that point.
Yeah, because he said that multiple times. I'm just Maul.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But he was definitely a dark side user, and maybe that's an acolyte. Maybe Savage was an acolyte because he wasn't really a true Sith.
Well, what if the acolytes? Because acolyte in Catholic Church is like they're the ones that are like students, but not necessarily like an apprentice. So maybe all of because when you go to even in the sequel trilogy at the very end, when they have all of those people in the stands, I think those all might be acolytes, because that would make sense with the Catholic Church description of an acolyte, because the acolytes are like they're the altar boys, and so you can have lots of altar boys, and they're followers of the church, but they're not necessarily like next in line to be the priest or the pope.
I mean, it would make sense for Asajj Ventress then.
Yeah, because she says she's Sith in the Gendy movie. She says, "I am Sith," but obviously she wants to be Sith, but isn't Sith officially.
She really can't because she's like Dooku's.
Yeah, but
Dooku's understudy, and then Grievous is just a whole different thing. Because Grievous was trained in the Jedi arts, but see, he said he was trained in the Jedi arts. He never said he was trained as a. He's never said he was trained as a Sith, because all of his lightsabers came from fallen Jedi. So there was no red crystals or bleeding crystals or anything like that. It was, he had green and blue.
I think he was literally more machine than man. So I think he's more of a program.
Although Grievous did have the Sith yellow eyes, but I don't know if that's just his species or
just contacts. You want to look cool. I want to look cool. He's got.
That's a fair.
He goes home every day. And he's got a smiley face one.
Yeah, because you know what? Because I think we talked about this last time too. That the Sith yellow eyes, that Dooku never had the Sith yellow eyes. Only hints of it a couple of times when he really gave himself over to the dark side. But for the most part, he never had the yellow eyes. Like Anakin got them when he killed the younglings. He got the Sith yellow eyes really bad. So. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the yellow eyes is giving into your passions, your emotions, like really heavy duty. And I think kind of that's Dooku never seemed to really want to do that. I mean, Dooku's very calculated.
But Dooku was also the only one that was able to channel Force lightning as well.
No, they all could. So even the Jedi can, but they refuse to because it's too easy, so they don't. So the Jedi can throw Sith lightning, but they choose not to. I just read that recently. They're able to, but they don't.
It's kind of the same thing with Force choking, I think. Like, they could Force choke, but because it's such an offensive move, why would they need to do it?
Yeah, because Luke even did that in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. It's like, Jedi really shouldn't be learning offensive moves. I think that's what... I remember from video games, it's kind of like if you did an offensive move, that is kind of a dark side move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you guys at least hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay,
you're frozen, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely frozen, which is so odd because it never happens.
But we hear you.
Good. That's all that matters.
Yeah. You're like the Speak No Evil, though.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Do it, Mike. Do it.
I got
Screenshot.
I got stuck.
Screenshot,
everybody. Yeah.
Well, I've got my notes if you guys want to go through them.
Yeah, let's go through your notes.
All right, so my notes are chronological. So it starts out with the opening sequence. We're back to Brendok, and it's a Brendok flashback, which we kind of knew was coming because there are only 2 episodes left, and we needed to see this flashback because we knew there was from the previews that Kelnaka was slashing his lightsaber around. So we finally got to see it. Yeah, so we finally got to see it, and it did not disappoint. Let me just say that.
No, that was a great fight scene.
Yeah. Yeah, so it opens up with they're flying into Brendok, and we see the witch's Stonehenge atop the mesa, right? Which is pretty cool. Although I was wondering why would they have this Stonehenge thing on top of the mesa if the civilization that was there before had been destroyed completely, and then the witches are there now. So that's obviously not theirs. It might have been some like ancient witches who built that Stonehenge
Well,
there.
I do remember seeing when Soul is watching, he discovers the little girls. He puts his hand on this ancient ruin. I don't know if you guys caught that. It's almost like it was from like the Lord of the Rings,
like a circle.
Yeah,
thing,
just
right?
like this old ancient ruins, kind of been there for thousands of years, hundreds of years.
Right,
So I got that.
And that was unique because we didn't see that in the third episode when we saw him follow him through the forest.
Yes,
That's
we did.
where we did we
did because remember I brought it up. Remember I brought it up when we
I don't
reviewed the
remember
third one.
seeing it.
Yeah, I told you guys that. Did you notice the artifacts in the back, like ancient civilization? Because in the scene with May and Osha, when Osha's with the little butterfly hummingbird thing, behind her you could see that. And I went back to rewatch that episode 3 to see if I could see Soul hiding behind it, but I didn't. But that would have been cool if.
But what we hear from the Jedi that this planet should be dead, not even like grass. So.
Right.
Whoever lived there before, maybe a cataclysm or something. Actually,
it was a great hyperspace.
Yeah, they kind of mentioned that.
She said 100 years ago, this planet was lifeless because of a hyperspace disaster, which we know is.
Did she say hyperspace? Or she said like a
hyperspace disaster.
Yes.
I thought she said like a great disaster. Okay.
No, well, even if it was called the Great Disaster, that's literally what the very first chapter of Light of the Jedi. That's what what they call it.
Yeah,
but this lines up because this is at 132 BBY, the Acolyte, and that Great Disaster was in 232 BBY, which is 100 years prior. So perfect timing and alignment with Phase 1 of the High Republic, which I loved it. I thought that was really cool. I know what this is. I know what happened, and I know where this planet was. It has to be in the Hetzel system, because that's where it occurred. And so I thought that was pretty awesome, focusing us where this actually happened.
Does that confirm that Brandok's in that same system?
It has to be, because that's where the Great Hyperspace Disaster occurred. So I'm just saying, it hasn't been confirmed, but because I know that's where it happened, and that's where there were other moons and planets that were lifeless because of it. They were all in that Hetzel system.
I don't remember the name of it, but there was the one system that pretty much was demolished completely. Mm-hmm. It was that in the Hetzel. Yep. Remember the
all the Hetzel system. Okay. You remember Hetzel Prime, and then what's her name? Avar was called the what was her name that they gave her, because she went
she was like the Song of the Force.
But they called her something about Hetzel, the Queen of Hetzel or something, because she went and remember she was able to stop the canisters from falling.
Yeah, but there was other incidents. So I thought, and hyperspace is the whole galaxy. So I thought maybe it went other places, but yeah.
Yeah, but they were at a specific location in hyperspace, and that was in the Hetzel system. So that was nice to have that connection. And we see them in a camp, right? And the Jedi are there. And when they were there collecting samples, that gave me E.T. vibes. You know, when E.T. came to Earth and he starts collecting plant samples when he was here, right? Like, they're like E.T. collecting little plant samples.
What's E.T.?
E.T. the extraterrestrial.
Never heard of it.
And he's canon to Star Wars because there were little E.T.s in the.
Oh, now I know who E.T. is.
I even told we were just talking about this the other day, like how E.T. was in Star Wars, and like kind of the reason behind it. But I always thought it's such a great connection because in Star Wars or in E.T., when E.T.'s walking in his Halloween costume, he sees
ghost.
Yoda, and he automatically goes like, Yoda. He's like, I know that guy.
I know this guy. Yeah.
So it's always like, it's such a cool thing.
Yeah.
I was like, man, and
really
like
cool.
then to see. So it was hilarious.
Yeah, so that was really cool. So they're in the camp, and the camp is next to one of those wheels, like the one you mentioned, Jonathan. That's by the Bunta tree. But now there's another wheel artifact, big rock stone thing next to their camp. And Torben says that he's sick of eating the Nuna legs. And Nunas, of course, are those flightless swamp turkeys that are native to Naboo that we saw in the Phantom Menace. And he just wants to go home because it's been 7 weeks on Brendok. There's nothing for him to do there. And I looked him up when he was born. So guess how old he is 16 years ago on Brendok. Guess his age. How old do you think?
16.
16, close. What do you think, Bryce?
21.
He's 38, guys. He is 38 years old at this point in
real
time.
life or as a Padawan?
No, as a Padawan, he's 38, according to Wikipedia, which might be edited because we know what happens. But it claims that he's 38 at this point, and that means
seems ridiculous.
38 seems like it's like 25 get out of the nest type thing.
Look at his hair. 16 years later, he's completely bald, male pattern baldness.
Right, but man, he seems like 38 was more because he's not an alien race, right? He's human.
He's correct. Well, as far as I know, he's human. Yeah, but
they still go by normal year or rotations or years, whatever they call it. They should still go by that, but
yes, right. But I
wow.
Guess so I was shocked. Seems like that's but the age at which he died.
No, he died at the age of 54.
So
54, I mean, I'm older than 54, and I'm not that bald like he was in the Acolyte, but that's okay.
Yeah, but I had a friend in high school that by his senior year he was bald. Like that just doesn't, you know what I mean? Like the whole baldness thing is.
That's true. That's true. It can happen whenever.
Wow. That's
a not moving out of the house type thing. It's time for him to move on.
He does not look like a 38-year-old, but okay.
Well, but then again, Grogu's 50.
That's true. That's true.
You know, he's nowhere near a quarter of his life, according to how long Yoda lived.
That's true. That's true. So we have that.
That's just funny.
And so he wants to go back to Naboo. I mean, to Coruscant. He's tired of life on Brendok.
No, we all want to go back to Naboo, though.
Yeah, I know. So then we find out that they're searching for the Virgins or a Force Nexus. That's a power that can create life similar to the Genesis effect in Star Trek. I thought of that right away. And because they're like, this planet was dead, lifeless. It was just a rock, and now it's lush. How could that have happened in just 100 years? And then, of course, we see Kelnaka wearing clothing. Right, he's got his Jedi robes. So that means that all this time, Chewbacca was naked, which is okay.
They have a lot of hair to cover up everything else.
They do. And we find out that Sol does not have a Padawan, nor has he ever had one. And according to Master Indara, it's because he's not ready, right?
He's too emotional.
He's too emotional, right? He gets too connected.
Well, they're coddling their Jedi, apparently. 38 years old is not out of the nest.
That's odd.
They're coddling right now. Are you not quite ready? So 60 years old, you're not quite ready for a Jedi.
And just think back 100 years when they were forcing these 8-year-old Jedi Padawans to become Jedi already.
Yeah.
Right? So they were like, oh, you're graduated, and you're graduated, and you're graduated too.
But what I did appreciate, which was something that ties to the Phantom Menace, is that when Master Indara said that they're too old, right?
Yes.
That gave me like exactly when
Yoda,
Anakin had
Yoda said he's too old.
Is that or was it Mace Windu that said that he's too old?
Oh, it's Mace. You're right. It's Mace.
But that's it. Kind of reminded me. Well, he's too old. And so to me, and that's where I feel like Sol is a lot like Qui-Gon, right? Like a direct correlation to Qui-Gon.
He brings Anakin when he's 10.
You know, but then he's like, no, you must see he's the chosen one. And Sol's kind of like, these children need these twins. They need to be saved.
Protected.
Right? Like, so I kind of felt like, I'm like, this is a lot of Qui-Gon.
Yes. But he's a little more emotional than Qui-Gon, I think. I think Qui-Gon was more level-headed.
Yeah, he did things outside of the council's blessing.
He did, but I think he seemed to me not as emotional as Soul gets. Soul gets very emotional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very true.
Well, what? So I'm going to say now. I don't quite get the whole thing. Why so desperately wanted to take these children from their family. That really, they did not convey properly to me on really his intentions. Really, I get why. Oh, I want to protect the kill, but you never see it. Like I believe Qui-Gon when he's like this. His convictions. He's the chosen one. We have to help them out. He helped us out. The Force made us. I just for some reason Soul felt very odd. I have to save these children, and you can. And Dara's like, you're being emotional. So I never felt quite like Soul was making the right decision at all. I'm like, is this really the right decision?
I feel that's part of what we'll see next week. Is I know we're skipping ahead, but that's why I think he's gonna let. To me, I think May was the only one that was going to ascend, and that's why she has the markings, and I believe Osha was the one that was going to be sacrificed. We did hear there's sacrifices that are happening in the Ascensions thing. So that's why when they're a complete match, almost one conscious split into two, I believe is how they said it. I do believe that was how they were going to ascend May into something much bigger, is by sacrificing Osha, because we did get a really big view of a really big pit that reminded me of the Soul Stone on
Infinity Wars.
Yeah, but God, that's the name of the planet, Volmir or Mora? No, Volmir.
Mm-hmm.
Where,
but you know what? But the only reason that Osha doesn't have it is because the ceremony was interrupted.
Well, I'm kind of digging Bryce's idea. I mean,
yeah, I like it too, but
remember,
I think
when she dropped the Force threads onto May, that's when the Jedi entered, and it stopped them from continuing. Because
but did she have the marks prior to that? That's
she didn't.
She didn't.
So when she told, because she asked her the question first, do you want to ascend? She goes, yes, I do. May said it enthusiastically. That's when we saw like the threads come, and we saw them start lighting up on her forehead.
See, I guess I missed that detail.
It was like burned by the Force. And then when she asks Osha's hesitant, but she finally says yes. And right when she was about to get the lunar eclipse, this Acolyte eclipse thing, Force energy going to her forehead, that's when the Jedi came in, all four of them. And so it was interrupted, so she didn't get to mark.
We don't really. We're kind of assuming that's what's going to happen next. That's what they make you think what happens next. It could have been something like she's absorbed into May or something like that, or something. Because I kind of like the idea of sacrificing her to make a more powerful being. Because they even said like, how are children going to lead the cult or whatever they call it? The covenant.
I don't know. Yeah, the covenant.
So I'm thinking there might be some kind of transformation.
We can see
when Soul kills Mother Anastasia, when she was turning into the dark mist. Didn't you see that May was also turning into the dark mist? And she didn't know what's going on, but they're like going to combine.
Yeah, well, I think the dark mist is them teleporting. I think she was getting her and May out of there.
I think so too, because the other lady,
Coral,
she disappears.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't see
Mother
her
Coral.
again. And
yes. I don't think they all disappear, even the ones that were up on the
platform. I think there's a little faction left.
But the ones that disappeared that were up there, I believe they're the ones that went inside and they possessed Kelnaka, though.
Right. Yeah.
But we didn't see Coral again.
Yeah,
she disappeared. I don't think we saw her.
Yeah, you're right. She disappeared.
I don't know if we saw her laying amongst all the rest of them.
She's not dead. I'm pretty sure.
I think she's and who knows? She might have been the one that killed Kelnaka. We don't know.
I think she's in season 2.
I think. Well, maybe she shows up next episode, and she's the second Sith.
and that's maybe I'm just the only thing is the only thing with Kelnaka's death is Kirmir doesn't. I don't believe had enough time to run and then run back. It just seems like there wasn't enough time, but maybe I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know.
Maybe.
You know.
Well, maybe Konaka did it himself because obviously it was easy to make him do what he wanted, force control them.
Yeah, I still feel like where why he went into. I feel like he went into exile, but I don't know if he went into exile like Yoda and Luke did because he feels like he failed, or if it was something like, "Hey, we need you to do this, and then we'll call upon you when you're ready." I don't know. That's still kind of like seems like a question out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how about the speeder bikes, guys?
They were cool.
Nice to see speeder bikes.
Nice to see speeder bikes. I was.
The audio sounds cool.
Oh yeah.
The throwback.
They seemed a little. They seemed a little clunkier.
Well, because they're old. They're older models. Like 150 years older models.
They're probably made for travel as opposed to speeder bikes where used were made for like patrol.
Yeah.
So this probably has like cargo stuff like that. Maybe.
It's true. I think they were riding them quite a bit, and that's where all the like research stuff. So that's a fair point.
But they are speeder bikes from 100 years before the Phantom Menace, which is like 50 years before we see them on Endor. So
I just think that
think about cars 150 years ago.
I mean, even think about motorcycles today. You have the skinny, tiny crotch rockets. Then you have these giant trikes have all these containers and stuff on it. So yeah, I think they just had different purposes. So
well, plus they're older.
Yeah, very cool to look at. We always want more speeders.
Well, and they did have different versions because the one that Torben took off on was a much sleeker model though than the one Soul jumped on. Was a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that is the compartment we can stuff children in. That's what that's for. That's what they're going to
do. Jedi pest control.
You open it and there's candy.
Yeah.
Again, they shut the door.
It's like a rat trap.
You open it and it plays music. The candy music. That's
like an ice cream truck. Yeah.
There you go. It's mystery solved.
So anyway, Soul's out there, collecting samples, and then he's over close to the Bunta tree, and he hears something, and he hides behind that stone, and then he sees Osha with the butterfly thing, and May is there with her, and he sees them using force abilities.
No, May specifically, because when May freezes that,
right, and then Osha tells her to stop it. Yeah,
right.
You know what was interesting? I watched that scene, and then I rewatched the episode 3 scene because it was the same dialogue, and there were parts that were not repeated. And there was parts cut out, which I appreciate, but I wonder if he didn't hear them or if they're just remembering things differently.
I've noticed that a few lines too throughout it. They either change the dialogue, shorten it, or long it. What they wanted to do.
Well, it's a different point of view, though, right? Because it's what Soul sees. So I don't think we're ever going to get the full dialogue.
It's always like everyone's perspective, which I think is pretty cool because people do remember things differently.
One thing I noticed about that scene is how foreign the Bunta tree looks. So I'm almost thinking they brought that with them, like seeds or
that happens to be where the convergence that they're talking about.
Yeah, maybe it looks so like foreign. And honestly, I thought that's what he saw. Because you see all these green trees, it's one yellow tree. I'm like, maybe that caught his eye first.
Yeah, it reminds me of whatever they call that tree in Avatar that provides life.
Right. Aowa. It's Aowa.
Yes. Of course, Mike would know.
Yes, because they were all naked. So
that's why he knows.
Yes. And don't play with your tails, guys. You'll go blind.
And the next scene.
But you know what? The thing about that, too, it might also be that that's the spot. Because remember, certain locations also can be strong in the Force. That might be a nexus point where that tree grew, and it's a Force, strong in the Force tree.
Yeah, I
remember even Luke gave a plant to.
No, it's tree. There were 2 trees in the Shattered Empire comic. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, there's 2 trees.
Luke took one. Luke took one and gave the other one to Poe Dameron's mom.
Parents, yeah.
And that's why Poe's such a good pilot, because he's actually has some Force sensitivity. He's not a Force user, but he does have some Jedi-style instincts, which is why he can pilot so well.
Yeah, so I was going to say that the Force doesn't just have to be in humans or in living; it's all living things, right? So
which also makes sense why Sabine can be a Jedi if Poe can be a Force-sensitive pilot who's never going to probably wield a lightsaber.
Right. Yeah. Correct. So. I agree. So then, and so he sees them, and then he's like, oh, and then he's concerned because there shouldn't be any children there on that planet, right?
Well, they were concerned about the vegetation even prior to that because of what you had said. That's why they were taking samples, because they were like, wow, this is really important that we find out. And then when he finds the daughters, I thought the acting in this episode was spot on.
Yes.
Like, everything he did was just phenomenal.
I agree. I think they all did a great job. The acting in this episode in particular was better than previous episodes.
Oh yeah. It was great.
And then we find out that he observed a force. Oh, he follows them, right? Mm-hmm. And he sees that they go into the fortress.
Well, then Mother Coral gets them out of the forest.
I think she knows he's there because she's panicking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She knows that the Jedi are there because they all know the Jedi are there.
Because she even says it. The Jedi are here.
Yeah.
And Anastasia asks her, "Did they see you?" And she's like, "I don't think so."
Right. Yeah. She knows.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's out in that forest too, and I love the point of view from Soul when she comes out of nowhere. I was like, "Whoa, where'd that happen?" Like, that was cool. Like, that was a little thing that I was like, "Oh, dude!" Like, I've totally forgot she's out in the woods, so she had to have seen him following. That's why she was looking behind her all the time.
Remember that Sharal, the first Night Sister, could transform into a black crow, remember? She could change forms, and that's canon.
Yeah, but I don't know it's possible they could do that. I still think that she still have, but they're not Night Sisters.
We don't know that. There's not enough information. But that's what Torben called them. He's like, they're Night Sisters.
But then he was corrected real quickly that they were not Night Sisters.
Well, he wasn't corrected. She just told Indara told him, we don't know. We don't have enough information.
I think Night Sisters is a very what's the word? Bad term in their universe. Like, oh, but Night Sisters, they're ready for violence.
Or
so
dark side magic. Yeah.
So I think Indara was just saying, wait, don't get hasty. We don't know yet. We don't know their intentions. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that was the underlying dialogue in that, because Night Sisters like, oh, they're going to be bad, but she's like, well,
it's similar to Mandalorians, how they were always like the Mandalorians were always warriors, right? But then when Duchess,
bunch of Genghis Khans,
when Duchess Satine took over, she's like, no, we're going to be peaceful now. So they can change. So maybe these are Night Sisters that wanted to turn peaceful. Because remember, Mother Anastasia said, we're not going to use violence anymore. We're not doing violence.
Mother Coral.
Well,
actually, you could just tell she was ready for a fight the whole time.
Honestly, they're more like the Mountain Tribe on Dathomir. They're trying to be a little more peaceful. They like to sing, so that's a little more like the Mountain Tribe. So honestly, they just
that's a good point, Jonathan. That's a good point that there are those different tribes even on Dathomir,
and they were Night Sisters as well.
Yes, So no, that's very well could.
But you know what? Those Night Sisters had children, which is strange.
How did they?
Indara said that they didn't have children, but then we know that the Mountain Tribe did have children.
Did they?
Yeah, because remember that her daughter is the one that.
Did she say that the Night Sisters don't have children? I thought she said they don't train children.
They don't have children.
Okay. So I remember her saying they don't train children.
Well, they're
to
not
either
allowed
fight
to
or
train
to use the
children,
force or
right?
whatever.
But she said they don't have children.
Okay.
So, because even Soul tells them there's 50. He says there's 50 because they go. So Soul goes right. He follows them, and he tries to get in, but he can't. And then he climbs up the outside, uninvited. This is like
Mm-hmm.
total Goldilocks and the Three Bears. He's like breaking and entering because nobody invited his ass in there. But there he goes, climbing to the top, sneaking his way in because he's concerned about the girls' welfare. Which I get it.
I don't get it. At that point, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I never got that. Hit a parental figure just said, it could be dangerous out here. Let's go. And he's worried about their welfare. They're the threat.
But the thing is that they perceive the
uh,
Night Sisters as dark side magic users, and they can corrupt these children. And children are pure, so he wants to keep them safe. And he can see that they're strong in the Force, so he doesn't want them to be corrupted by the Dark Sister magic, or even if they're not Dark Sisters or Night Sisters, he can sense that their dark side is among them.
yeah,
He
so
wants
he's
to
being
protect them all.
prejudiced then, because we
He
know
is being prejudiced against them.
we
Yeah.
we know in High Republic. I mean, there's a planet with a council of different Force users, and one of the seats is Jedi, and so he's definitely being prejudiced. Immediately going to evil Force using.
Well, remember something happens that's no longer like acceptable at some point, like for our Star Wars, because we don't see those different Force religions anymore.
Well, and one of them that was even in Phase 2 kind of walked on the dark side anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't see them again after that outside the High Republic.
Right.
So something happens that the Jedi become like, well, you know what? We're just going to take over all of them. We're the only ones that can be here. So then we view Anaseia's possession of. Oh, so they decide to. He goes in and he's sneaking in there, and I like that the little noise. His perspective of when Anisei.
Oh, it's training them.
Training the girls. It makes it seem like it makes it seem like she's evil, right? Like she's mean. But when we saw that same scene in episode 3, the girls didn't feel threatened by their mother.
Yeah.
They didn't. But his perspective, it seems threatening. Did you see how that played out differently? So
well, because there was really no sound at that point. You didn't really hear what was being instructed, kind of thing, other than bits and pieces.
But I went back and played those two scenes, like played one, play the other, played one, play the other to compare, and the acting is different. So it's not the same scene. It is the same scene, but it's acted differently.
They recorded them separately. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but this is, I think that's the point, is that Soul seeing what he wants to see.
Right, and Dara tells him that to be mindful of not seeing what he wants. Yes, and I think he's so preoccupied with they're in danger, then he's got that filter.
That's why he's only hearing certain things that he wants to hear. He's seeing things that he wants to see.
Right, because Mother Anastasia doesn't tell her that that she's going to sacrifice them. She says they have to walk through sacrifice, which I believe that you do have to sacrifice things in life sometimes to be successful. So I think it's perfectly fine. You have to sacrifice your time. Like, you can't just always be going out having a good time. You have to sacrifice some of that time to reach goals in life. So it's not necessarily like a bad thing, sacrificing. And I don't think that's how Mother Anastasia meant it, like, I'm going to have to kill you for you to ascend. I think she meant it in that way, like, you know what? You can't always have ice cream and cake. Sometimes you have to, like, eat your vegetables too. That's a sacrifice of some sort. And so I think the perspective is different. And I really enjoyed that the acting, that we can compare those two scenes going back and forth. I really like playing it. And I wish I could have like two screens playing at the same time so I could hear them simultaneously. And I bet somebody's going to do that on YouTube.
You can. You just have your computer in one and TV go in there.
I know, but I'm logged in on the same account. I can't.
You can't stream on multiple devices with Disney Plus?
Yeah, but not. I can, but not. Oh. If I'm streaming it, it's going to show me watching it. When I log into my account, it just allows me to stream one.
Interesting, because I know that we've had Disney Plus going on 2 different TVs, 2 totally different things. It's under my login.
The same show?
It's not same show. Not same show.
Well, I haven't tried it.
Oh, it takes off from where you left off. I get what Mike's saying. If I stop watching it on one and go on another device, it's going to start from the exact same spot. So it might be confusing. I don't know. We'll try it, Mike. Next time we go to Disney, I'll put my phone in your phone and we'll watch them together.
Yeah, that would be cool. So, and then we see. So we see when Anisea's her possession of Torben. That was really cool. What do you guys think about that?
Makes me think less of Torben. This whole episode makes me think less of Torben. Tell you that.
Well, I don't know why. I don't know why you would think much of Torben anyway. When Torben sits there and accepts the poison and kills himself.
I thought Torben was this bright-eyed 15-year-old, not really doing all the right
He's
stuff.
a dated 38-year-old has-been. Doesn't have enough force abilities to be a master yet. But
I mean, I appreciated Torben's role. I did, but he just there's something that because what you say took what did May say? He took some kind of vow.
Barashian vow, yes.
Yeah.
And that Barashian vow, which we read that from, remember, that was the sister. Oh my gosh, he was badass with the lightsabers. They were always together, brother and sister. Remember? Remember in phase 2 in the comics?
Oh, Blade and
the Blade.
The Blade.
The Blade.
I don't remember her name.
She's a Barashi. So that's how he gets a Barashian vow. Because once she gets duped by that princess saying that she was pregnant, but she wasn't.
So then is Torben a Barashi then?
No, he takes a Barashian vow. So that vow, it had happened before her, but she's the one that made it the most famous. So it got the Barashian name. Whenever a Jedi felt that they did something that wasn't in line or in tune with the Force, that they didn't hear it correctly, then they take this vow, the Barashian vow, to meditate so they can work through it and then become out pured. And so I think Torben felt that he made the wrong choice. I think it was him going back to get the girl to be their ticket out of Brendok to go back to Coruscant. I think he repented on that. So you know what? I never should have done that because it led to all these bad things that came up.
Well, he almost died too.
Yes. But I think that's why he took the bread. Well, all those witches are dead.
Well, at least Saul, in his own twisted mind, has convinced himself it's for the girls. This little twerp, this old twerp, just wants to go to Coruscant. I was like, I hated that of the storyline. I hated it. I just want to go home. I was like,
well, but remember, it was because Anastasia poisoned his mind. Mm-hmm. Because all that happened after she had poisoned his mind and tempted him. It was a temptation. It's like, I'll give you what you want. What do you want?
No, the first time he cries about it is because he's looking at plants.
He's not trying to kidnap girls.
But but he wants to go home.
He wants to go home, right?
That comment, I was like, what? It's like, you're a Jedi on a mission with 4 other Jedi.
And he said that I'd feel better about what he's doing if he felt what he was doing was important.
Right. Yeah.
So he was downplaying what he was doing and why he was being there. But what flipped him is when the blood analysis came back, and that's when he's like, I gotta go. I gotta go. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
So I hated his whole character. This episode.
That's okay. That's why he killed himself.
Yeah, I still like.
I think he died of old age, right?
Poison.
Yeah, he was like 75 years old or something.
That's so weird. That's such a weird fact.
He was 54.
So, the one thing that I guess I'm trying to figure out how it happened was when the witches possessed Kelnaka, right? So when the witches possessed Kelnaka, and Dara's trying to bring him back, right? She's trying to break their hold, and then
she uses the Force.
She uses the Force, but then they all just fall
pass
over.
Out. They pass out.
So right. So are they dead at that point?
I didn't think they were dead. I think they just like passed out and fell over.
So then, are they still dead?
I think this is part of the why it falls on the Jedi. Almost like, remember I said my original idea was the Jedi maybe put them to sleep and then they die from like smoke inhalation because they didn't know the person was on fire. So I think that's kind of what happened. I think she kind of knocked them out, and then
unknowingly though. I don't think she knows that she knocked them out because she doesn't see them. Yeah. She just freed Kalnaka from their grips.
Yeah.
And then once he's freed, they passed out and fell. But Soul saw them. But he's like,
what's he gonna do? He's got to get the girls. The place is falling apart. He's not gonna wake up.
Yeah. He did pause for a second and look like, what just happened?
Yeah.
But prior to that, we're skipping the part when he goes back, he's so like adamant, like we have to save them, and he follows after Torben because he's supposed to bring him back, right? And Dara says, no, don't stop him. But he actually goes and he tells Torben, come with me, we got to rescue these girls.
Well, when he finds them, he gets there and goes, let's go do it.
That made complete sense to me.
Well, yes, it did. But the thing is, Indara never intended for him to do that. No. Indara wanted him to stop Torben, not join him and have him help Soul kidnap these girls. But when he goes in there and they confront the Mother Anastasia and Mother Coral, that's when May comes in saying, hey, I need help, because she accidentally started the fire. So from this perspective, it was an accident, that she started the fire in the whole fortress. I mean, she purposely burnt the book because she had the Jedi stuff in there. She's like, I want to get rid of this, but she wants to put it out and she can't. And she drops the oil lamp, drops the book, and it's like, makes a big mess.
Then when she tries to pat it out, it sparks.
Makes an electrical fire. Yeah. So then she's like, oh shit, I need help. So she runs calling her mothers for help. But then she sees them and they're like confronting. And that's when Anastasia starts to transform to the dark mist. And then May does too. But Soul thinks it's Osha. She's like, Osha. So then he takes his lightsaber and he stabs Mother Anastasia, killing her because it's a mortal wound. And that's when she tells him, I was going to let her go with you because that was her choice. And then he feels guilty because he thought he was rescuing her. He didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, but you don't know what's going on. You don't start shooting. So as another issue with me, I was like, what was that about? These Jedi aren't supposed to attack unarmed people, and you don't know what's going on, and you stab them? I was like, I thought that was really odd too. Really did.
Well, but that looked really creepy, though, really scary when she's turning into that dark mist.
Yeah, I was.
That's being prejudiced again, though. I mean, Wookiees are creepy, scary. You don't just see one, you stab one.
No, but turning into dark mist is not something you normally see. It's not like a different species.
Right.
And then it was taking away the little girl too. For all he knew, she was like destroying.
I felt that was a little bit more of a defensive tactic, to be honest, because when she starts disappearing, you don't know, like, is she going to go up behind him, stab him in the back with something?
Well, and it was going all over him too. It was like
right, like at that point, like, I don't know, man. This does not feel like this is good.
Right. I agree.
So I mean, I did take out the lightsaber, and which was weird because she was not really of like a human form.
She was in transition, though.
She was right, but it was weird because you could almost see like the lightsaber go all the way through, but then once the lightsaber went through, then she came back into. So that was
she hadn't fully transported yet, so it was like, beam me up, Scotty, and it was like half done. Got stabbed. Yeah. But when that happened, May saw that happening, so she saw Soul kill her mother.
Yeah,
she saw that. That's why she doesn't like Soul. She doesn't trust him, and that's why she wants to kill him. She wants to kill all four of them because they caused they ruined her whole life, her whole coven, everything.
Yeah,
everything that she had was gone because of them. These four Jedi. So I understand her motivation for wanting.
She fights with a lot of rage too.
Yes, and then her mother Coral told her, "Get angry!" Right when she takes her and throws her out, she's like, "Get angry!" Prevent them from coming in. And she gets mad. She starts breaking stuff.
Well, she smashes the controls to the elevator. That's when she goes into the room and says, "You're stuck here now.
You can't get out."
Right, you can't get out because I locked everybody in.
Mm-hmm.
But a detail though that going back while Sol was in the fortress by himself earlier. Remember, he also goes outside, and there were some of the witches doing their
Oh yes, by the hole.
ritual by that big hole, but we didn't see that hole in episode 3.
We did.
So that's why I was thinking, like, man, are they gonna throw something down there? Like, that seems like that's why I got the Soul Stone vibe, right?
They just push her in.
There you go. Ray fell in on Octo, remember? Ray got sucked into that hole in Octo, look just like that one, the big giant butthole. She fell in. Remember? That's where she saw the reflections.
Well, yeah, but that was the dark side of the island, as Luke had said. That's
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, we didn't see that in episode 3, so that was
right.
That was kind of creepy, and you kind of heard like voices, sounds coming out of that hole. It was pretty creepy. By the way, when she was possessed, when she did possess Torben and told him that he was a son of paupers from the planet Bonadon, I mean, I was like, my ears were tingling, like ding-ling-ling, Bonadon. You know, Bonadon is that strip mine planet in the corporate sector of the Outer Rim territories that was marking the start of the Hydean Way, and it was first mentioned in canon on a map in Star Wars: The Force Awakens beginner game, and also in the EU 1979 in the novel Han Solo's Revenge by Brian Daley. So it was cool that this show is bringing in a lot of EU stuff and making it canon for us, but also some canon connections. Because I do have that map in that book, and I saw it. All you see really is there's a reference to
the Timelines book.
No, not the Timelines. It's the Star Wars: The Force Awakens locations book, and it has when you see Coruscant, Bonadon has one of their offices on Coruscant, and they show it. It's highlighted and it tells you what it is. So
yeah, I think it's in the. I don't have the Force Awakens. I have the bigger Star Wars, the complete locations book. So
that's the one. That's the one.
Okay, yeah, I have.
It's the one that was updated after the Force Awakens, right? So it has the Force Awakens locations in it too. So that's the one. It's in there. It's Bonadon.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. And that's what she tells him. She convinces him that he asks. She convinces him to ask her for his desires, and then with tears streaming down on his face, Torben, because he's conflicted, he tells her, I want to go to Coruscant. And so she's been tempting him, and so she tells him kneel, and then he does. That's like when Anakin kneeled in front of Palpatine to give himself over. So I think he kind of is pledging himself to her.
Well, I thought
allow her to use him.
I thought maybe that was going to be her way in, but she doesn't use him later. So I thought that was kind of the whole Neil thing was a little wasted.
No, but his mind was fortified.
Yeah, but she's still connected to him because he can still hear her. Mm-hmm. That's why he thinks that she's talking to him, but it's not. Yeah. She's like not you, and it's Kelnaka, because now they've also got him. Because remember what they said in the other episode when they said, when they said about he gets into your mind and then he stays there, and that's when Osha tells him my mother used to do that. So she got into Torben's mind and was able to stay there, just like she got into Kelnaka's and was able to stay there too. So I think they're both still being haunted because that Mother Anisei or Mother Coral or whoever it is still in their minds, and that's why they keep drawing those symbols inside of Kelnaka's home. He had all those symbols of the spirals of yin yang.
Well, but I think Anisei is the one that got Torben, and maybe Coral's the one that got Kelnaka, and that's why I think
it's all the sisters together, the whole coven.
Well, they were the ones that, kind of penetrated his mind and controlled him.
Keeping him there.
But remember, Coral vanished. And to my knowledge, we don't see her again.
You're right, we don't.
So
we don't see her dead body either.
I'm curious to know if she's actually the one that killed Kelnaka versus Kiermaier.
Maybe. That would be cool. Let's see. So we talked about the M count, and then they showed the test, right? When they're testing, but this time they show when they're testing May, which we had never seen,
Yeah.
And he's like, "What do you see?" She's like, "A spaceship, but it was a wampa. A castle, it was a loaf cat. A planet, it's a gonk droid. A
Well, and
necklace."
then she says a starship, and the thing hadn't switched yet.
She said necklace,
Or
and he's like,
necklace,
"Nothing's
and it
come up
hadn't
yet.
switched yet.
Nothing's come up yet." And that's when they knew that she's faking it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's when Indara asks her what was going on with the Ascension, and is that where she got the markings? She said yes, and that they're going to be the leaders. She doesn't know how. Uh, and then Soul tells Indara, "Well, Osha passed the test," and Indara's like, "Yeah, because you helped her, you coached her."
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
So
she knows.
I didn't see that coaching. I just saw him encourage her to be truthful. I didn't see like this is what you're gonna do. Like I didn't catch that coaching what Indara said. I saw him talk to her and say you need to be truthful.
Well,
That's what I remember.
if you compare how when they tested Anakin, they weren't smiling and nodding their heads yes when he was saying the correct answers. He was just saying a starship, a planet, a this, and they were just quiet, flipping them, right? No
Right. And then when they
emotion.
got done, you saw Mace look over at Yoda
Yes.
and nod.
Well, throughout
Yes,
the
he
whole
got
test
them all
with
right.
OSHA, he was like, "Mm-hmm, next one, come on." He was like goading her.
Well,
But it
the
was
first
different.
time, no, because she was answering them untruthfully, and he said correct.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew that she was being coached, and
Yes.
so that's when he said, "I want to try something different."
Mhm.
Which, if I'm looking at that, so if you're going to be testing somebody, you want to try something different, you're changing your approach. And so
Right.
that's where I think Indara was like, you coached her, because I feel like that's what he did. He's like, okay, we tested this way. I want to
It wasn't
test
the
this
standard
way.
way, right? It wasn't the
Right.
standard protocol.
So that's so I understand where she came from with that, because I do
Mhm.
feel like that's, if you're trying to produce a result, the first thing you have to do is change the behavior.
Right.
And that's what he was doing.
I see it as you're trying to get an honest test result and it's being skewed. You have to find a way to get an honest test result.
Right, because he wants her to pass.
We need to do a different test. So
yeah. And then you know what was cool when Torben comes back in with the M count returns? He says it's very high, extremely high, but the symbionts are exactly the same. And he's like, that doesn't even, and then Indara's like, but they're twins. He's like, but even identical twins as symbionts won't be the same. But these are like the same consciousness that has been split into two bodies.
Mhm.
And they're saying only a virgins could create that type of power, or could have that kind of power to produce that. And that's when Torben realizes, wait a minute, if that's the virgins, then these girls are my ticket out of here. But he's still poisoned by Anastasia. This is after he's been poisoned by Anastasia's temptations.
Right.
It's kind of like, the Adam and Eve story where, the serpent
So
Eve with the apple.
So Anastasia was partially in fault of her own demise because she's the one that messed with his head, and then he's the one that went to go get them. So if she would have done that, probably would have been more level-headed and talked to his master.
Right.
I mean, I'm saying after 25 years, you kick him out. He's no longer. He fails. I'm just saying.
You can't do it. You can't do it. Grogu was a youngling at the age of 50.
Yeah, but didn't they kick out Osha for not cutting it?
She left.
She left.
So they've never kicked anyone out for not cutting it?
No, they have.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
In the Rise of the Red Blades, that specifically targets that, because one of the Padawans who was not cutting it, he got kicked out, but they found him a place in the Jedi Temple.
Well, Barasafi.
Correct. Barasafi was arrested.
But was she not kicked out of the Jedi Order?
Because she committed a crime, though.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
You cut it.
I'm saying, you're 40-year-old living at home. It's time to. Yeah. He's not cutting it.
Yeah, I agree.
You changed the locks.
He had 2 years left. He wanted to get back because he wanted to.
But obviously, he was. I mean, not only to forget his age, he's failing. I mean, everything he says is crying, whining, doing it again. His master tells him, "No, don't," and he's like, "Screw you." I'm like,
dude, I think it's a very weird time for Jedi, because I also think they're also realizing they are not as powerful as they used to be, and
or they think they are,
or they're just that vain. I mean, even Luke touches on it in The Last Jedi, like how the Jedi are blind, and how they let Palpatine rise to power and destroy them. So
never seen it.
Liar.
Must be a comic or something, a fan fiction movie.
I think there's a comic adaptation of it.
Yeah,
I have the book adaptation of it.
Of
The Last Jedi.
Oh yeah, I love The Last Jedi. The best of the sequels. So anyway, they get to the battle with Kelnaka.
Did you hear that, Spencer? Mike agrees with you.
No,
Jonathan
Spencer
apparently doesn't.
Spencer agrees with me. I'm older.
Oh boy.
So Kelnaka comes in and he's kicking some Jedi butt, all by himself. And he's got his lightsaber and his eyes. The first thing I noticed, his eyes were black. I'm like, oh, he's possessed.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that. And then they saw all the sisters going, oh,
well, just the way he was standing there, he looked so menacing when he was in that shadow.
He's huge. Why are you laughing?
Oh, yeah.
Man. That's from Wizard of Oz. Remember? The winged monkeys, the soldier.
I would have turned off the TV. That garbage. We're done.
But anyway, Kelnaka starts fighting, and he is so strong. He's like he throws Saul across like a rag doll. I love that fight. I'm glad we got that Wookiee battle.
Yeah, you see it where he makes that big slow motion swing and Saul's above him. I'm like, why are these two fighting? Mm-hmm. So now we got to see it now, so it was really cool to see it play out. But man, Kelnaka, like that was crazy.
Cool. And Torben got his butt kicked. Bad.
He held his own for a while.
He did. But I mean, he's got it slashed up. He messed up his eye. Yeah, it looked good. I really liked that battle scene. It was some really good.
Well, and then Dara coming out with that thing, like I was like,
oh yeah,
yes, it's Trinity.
She jumps on his back,
That's such a Matrix move, and I thought it was so fitting because the Jedi could jump long distances, but the way that was done was just like the Matrix, and so I really appreciated that.
And so then they finish there, and she tells him, get the girls, right? And Saul goes, and then he sees both of the girls. But then, did you notice how he is at first protecting both of them with both his hands,
which
right?
we don't see that in episode 3. We only see
the one.
Right. So for me, like, okay, what? So
I think in episode 3, I think episode 3 was May's perspective. Or no, it was Osha's. I think it was Osha's.
You think it was Osha's?
Yeah, because she didn't see the mother get killed. So I think it was Osha's perspective of what was happening when they're in the caves, because she gets saved, and then May falls. But
May still could have told Osha that it was Soul that killed the mother, but she didn't.
Not yet. They didn't have time. She came in she's like, hey, if
she asked her, what did you do? And she could have answered it, but she didn't.
No.
She
tells her, what did you do?
She repeats herself back, which is weird.
She goes, what did you do? What did you do?
That was odd.
What did you do? Well, because that's kind of like a blaming, what did you do? Yeah. And they're blaming each other. So May is blaming Osha for all this happening because she wanted to leave with the Jedi. And then Osha's blaming May because she started the fire. So they're each blaming each other. But May knows that it caused the death of her mother.
What was that movie with Macaulay Culkin where he's this evil little kid and the mom's holding him and her son over the good son over the mountain cliff, and she has to choose one. And she lets Macaulay Culkin. Good one. She drops Macaulay Culkin.
But he was a good one.
No, he was the bad one. She keeps the good son. So that's what I got out of this scene. It was like you got You got the bad one. You got the good one.
Well, he does let go of May. He lets her die, and he saves only Osha. But he drops May because once he figures out which one's May, he lets that one go.
Is that? Well, I think does he realize, or does he realize that he can't save both? So
that's what I thought. Yeah, he has to make it. That's what I'm saying.
Like you could tell he's torn. I don't think it was.
But also, Bryce, which is the one that has seen him kill the mother? It's May. So if you've got to choose one,
I mean, yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Mom,
that's a fair point.
I think that's somewhere in the back of his mind. Like, well, Osha doesn't know that I killed her mom. May does. If I can only pick one, let me pick the one that doesn't know.
I mean, it's a terrible decision.
Yes,
but I think a decision most of us would make. That's why I was bringing up that old movie. You don't want anyone to die, but if you're going to lose both, you're going to pick the good one.
Well,
and so before we were talking about House of the Dragon, and we won't get into what we discussed, but there was a choice.
Let's not. Yes,
but there was a choice made by the Queen when they entered in the chamber.
Exactly. Yeah.
You either which one's the son.
Yeah. You lose both, or you lose. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a terrible choice.
It's a Sophie's choice, right? Sophie's choice,
right? But what's weird is that she didn't pick the son, so she picked the daughter.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So anyway, if you haven't watched it by now, it's a month old. Not my problem.
All right, Jeff, number 2.
Oh, listen here. I didn't even have to read High Republic 7 thanks to you.
That didn't
skips right over it. My goon rail's dead. Great. Don't need to read this.
Anyway, my very last note is that he saved Osha, gets her on the ship, they're taking off, and they agree to say the minimal evidence to protect Osha from further loss. Because Soul's like, we have to tell the truth, tell everything.
Yeah.
And Indara's like, what do you think? What are you talking about? Think about, why did you do this? Why did you?
That's where I thought Indara was in the wrong, though.
I can see her point of view. All of it, because you always have to wonder.
Let's talk to the council. Let's talk to the council.
Right,
Let's talk to the council. And Soul's like, do we need to do this? Do we need to do this? Like, he's circumventing the council, Qui-Gon, as much as he can. And Indara's like, kind of like Obi-Wan. No, we should consult the council.
But they're friends. They're friends. They're good friends.
I get it, and that's where I got the whole like Avar and Elzar thing.
Elzar, yeah.
So
yes, and so she goes, you know what? If you do that, then all of this was for nothing, though. Because then she won't become a Jedi, and that's her dream.
Must be when Kelnaka leaves.
Yeah.
And he goes, I would call it exile. You're on a planet, and
he exiled himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So he went into exile. I would imagine because of what Indara was telling them to do, and
what they all agreed to do, because none of them told. Any one of them could have told the council this is what really happened, and none of them did that.
I think that Soul he redeems himself in the next episode for sure.
Well, he has to, but for 16 years he's been hiding things. Because remember, even when they went to go get Osha, they're like, we didn't know they were twins, so he didn't even put that in the report.
Yeah, he said, I need to come clean. In the up-to-date timeline, present timeline.
Yeah. So
I do feel like the one thing going back is like May has confronted Soul already, but she never said, "You killed my mother."
No, but she saw it happen.
Right, but she talks about the brainwashing thing on Osha. Like, brainwash, which there is some, right? Like she just, it's not. I don't know if it's brainwashing, but it's truth from a certain point of view.
Well, that's a stretch.
I don't know. I mean, your Soul says May started a fire.
Yeah, but he conveniently left out, and I killed your mother.
And then he said, and it killed everyone. Right?
No, he killed her mother.
He killed her mother. He didn't kill everybody else.
But the fire did not kill everyone.
We don't know that.
It didn't kill Anisea. He killed Anisea.
Right,
the fire did not kill her.
But he's leaving out major bits, but he's still telling a story.
Yes, that's
of things that happened.
Sin of omission that they agreed to.
Right,
let's just not mention
that's
it.
what I mean. Like, how is that any different than Obi-Wan telling Luke that Vader killed his dad when they're the same person?
I know.
Okay, that's what I mean. From a certain point of view, what Soul was telling Osha, those things did happen. Just
that's true.
Not exactly the way that they were supposed to be.
Right.
There's truth to knowing what's best for you. There is method behind that madness. I mean, you don't. Sometimes all the truth just bogs you down, makes it worse. So there is method to that madness. I don't think it's always right, but I do agree. Sometimes it's right. So.
And the thing is,
they always don't know how the sausage is made. Sometimes they just enjoy the sausage.
When you're dealing with children need to be protected by the adults. I know.
That's the saying. That's how the saying goes. I mean, I deal with adults. I tell them what they need to know.
Right.
They don't need to know
it's different
everything.
For adults than it is with children.
I think it's even more. You need to protect them even more. You don't need to
protect children more. Yeah.
You don't need to tell children you're eating a pig right now. That pig outside.
I agree with you. Children need to be protected. So I think.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you, Jonathan.
So okay.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you because children need to be protected.
Time is 8:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have an agreement between Jonathan Chiato and Mike Delicard.
We like sausages.
Oh, I love sausages. And I love to see how the sausage is made.
I hate seeing it. I was horrified when I saw they grabbed the pig and just threw it in the grinder. I was like, oh my God.
That's life. That's life, honey. That's life. It tastes so good. I don't mind.
All right. We got to wrap this up. What are our final thoughts? Everyone's final thoughts.
I really liked this episode. It was intense in a different way because we got a lot of the fill in the blanks, but at the same time, as much as what was answered, there's now even more questions. Mm-hmm. And can you solve them all in 43 minutes next week? I don't think you can. I think we'll get to season 2, which I'm hoping for.
Well, she's already working on season 2. That's already been approved and confirmed.
Hey, Ryan Johnson's been working on another trilogy for 4 or 5 years now. Ain't gonna happen.
Headland is working on season 2.
No, that one's been tabled. But
I'm just saying, just because people work on it doesn't mean it's gonna happen.
I did hear though that Patty Jenkins might be back doing the Rogue Squadron movie, which would make.
I hope so.
Guillermo del Toro was making a Jabba movie. He worked on it. He came up with the script, never made. So it's just because they work on it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, but this one was also Superman. We get it.
This one I think is going to happen though. So my final thoughts is I really like this episode a lot. I think I'm looking forward to the last episode, but I'm wondering how they're going to make that bridge because they're already counting on a season 2. He's already working on it, and
same like Ahsoka, how they ended it. There's going to be a season 2.
I think season 2 is going to happen because the plan for season 2 is much bigger. This was just a setup for something better coming later, which is I think going to be Plagueis, and so there's no way they cannot make Plagueis.
So was funny is that when Vernestra brings that Jedi with her, and I can't remember his name, Mog. Yeah, Mog. Okay. Look at that dude's face and how slender it is. Like I could see him turning into Plagueis. That guy.
That guy. No. That guy can't open a bag of chips. That guy is not.
Plagueis was a moon.
That guy is. He's no. All right.
The right species. So, Jonathan, final thoughts.
My thoughts. There's actually a couple. I've had them kind of written down. All right, let's start with.
He was right part of them while he was doing it because I could see.
I remember earlier in one of our episodes, like, what is this facility? Victor, it was a mining facility. I enjoyed that. I was like, oh, thank you for answering a question for me. So I enjoyed that. the fact, I think this is weird. It's another problem of my writing with this. The fact that they're on a planet and they find 2 kids, forced kids, and then they have to reach out to the council to find out more information. But right now in the present situation, Jedi are being killed and they don't want to tell the council. I'm like, when do we talk to the council? We find 2 kids with the Force, but Jedi being murdered could be a rogue Jedi. We don't want to tell the council. That's kind of bugs me. Sometimes we tell the council little things, big things we don't. I thought that was weird.
Well,
it's different Jedi.
I mean, you're talking a 16-year time span, and I think Vernestra plays a larger role in this than anything.
Yeah, and Dara was the one that wanted to talk to the council all the time, not
right.
the Jedi.
And then Vernestra never wanted to go above her level because I think she has a bigger role to play in this. I think she's actually probably responsible for Chimere, turning to the dark side.
Yeah. So to me that was weird. I get it's different people, but it's like you're told you need to let them know for things.
But if you know who's killing the Jedi and you're responsible for it,
but
you tell the higher ups.
That mini council, 10 Jedi in that room, and they're like, yeah, you're right. No, nobody pushes back. I would have told. I'm like, I'm gonna go tell. I was like,
well, not if you're gonna go up against Homelander. You don't push back.
Well, but how long has Vernestra Rowe been a Jedi Master? And so do they just automatically say, okay, we don't need to put this. We don't need. She's saying we don't need the. I don't remember exactly how she put it, but we don't need
the publicity
that kind of attention, publicity. That the Jedi are not as powerful as they seem.
Right.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's still... part of it. But I also think the other side of the coin is that she knows who it is, and I think she really senses it when she's on Kofor.
Yeah. I guess to me, I'm not buying it. Somebody should have said something to the council.
I agree.
Right.
We don't know. Maybe somebody did.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
And,
one thing I would love to point out. They made a huge mistake not having Carrie-Anne Moss throughout this whole series.
Yeah.
She was by far my favorite character in this episode. And it really makes me sad we don't have more of her, but she was great.
No.
I thought she was fantastic. So I was a little happy to see it, but disappointed we don't really get her anymore.
Well, we'll get Keanu Reeves in the next episode, and that'll make the whole Matrix thing make sense.
And not be in the same scene.
He could always bring it back to life.
This is the trinity of their old characters again. Never once get a chance to put them all together, but you're gonna have Keanu Reeves, Keanu not in the same scene. Garbage.
He's gonna bring it back to life.
And then the great thing is when they go to the Jedi Council, you'll actually see Lawrence Fishburne sitting there.
Yeah, somebody else in it, just like yeah. All right, two last quick notes. They did this with episode 3. It's a flashback, and we don't know who's telling the story, who's they're telling it to, whose point of view it is. They need to have that bumper. Oh, this is what happened. So technically we know now, but we don't know if he's telling May this or
I don't think it's telling. You know what? I think this is a different way of storytelling, and I don't think we need to know who's telling this story to what. I think it's for us, the viewer.
No. I know we know now, which is fine, but we know May and Osha still don't know the truth.
Right. No, that's
so. That's
what's got to come out in the next episode to launch into the next season.
And I think when Osha finds out that Soul killed her mother, that's going to push her all the way to the dark side.
But now we have to relive it twice. So it's the third time almost. It's like we
no, but I don't think it'll be a flashback. I think he's just going to tell her. And she's like, what? You did what? Or May's going to tell her. Somebody's going to tell her.
Yeah. But that is the big thing that's going to be revealed is I actually killed your mom.
She put the mask on.
What?
Yeah, I know that was cool with the whole.
But that's still not the whole truth, though. So it's like she's gonna know that one thing, but she's not gonna know
her mom. That's gonna be enough truth for her.
But still not everything. I mean,
You know what? If somebody tells me that they killed my mom, that's all the truth I need to hear.
What if your mom was stabbing him?
I don't care.
That's what I'm saying. You need to know more.
Yeah. No, not when it comes to moms.
Yeah. That leads to the dark side, Mike.
Well.
I'm just saying that leads to the dark side. And then my last note is I'm over the TV series style. This should have been a movie. These half-hour things aren't. They're not compact. They're not episodic. They're chapters. And so if we're not, you have to watch this thing all together. If not, every week people are wanting what's going on. Need more. It's
complaining. Yeah.
But Mandalorian, great episodic. Each episode had a beginning, end.
Its own story, right?
Yeah, so that's this should have been a movie, or they should have made it more of an episodic. That's what I think.
Did you say the same for Ahsoka though?
Nobody said Ahsoka was fantastic.
I love Ahsoka.
Ahsoka literally is when it comes to the Star Wars stuff, is one of the more lower reviewed stuff.
It's because everybody, it's because the expectations on that specific show with that character were way above, and people should have probably realized like
Baylan Skoll wasn't in Ahsoka. To me, it would have been very meh. And then you had the one great episode with Anakin. Other than that, to me, it would have been very meh. So we need Star Wars back in the
setup, though. We all know that there's going to be a season 2 of Ahsoka, but there's also going to be a much larger, almost Avengers-like.
But I think that's the complaint right now with Star Wars is that you can't have shows just to set up other shows. You have to have shows that you can enjoy on their own, standalones. Why do we have to read books for something to enjoy a show? Why do we have to read the comics? It shouldn't be that way. You should be able to enjoy.
Well, then why do we need? You could say the same thing for Marvel. I mean, if anything,
Marvel's really struggling right now too because it's always
probably has more fatigue.
Yeah, it's the same. Let's enjoy what we're watching and not like this is built. That's why I thought Mando is so great the first 2 seasons. It did such a great job.
Yes,
standalone. You enjoyed each episode. You enjoyed the season. You're not really like, oh, we're playing up something bigger.
That's why Young Jedi Adventures is so awesome because you don't have to read any books. Cool. You don't have to watch any shows. Each
the books that are coming out, the little golden books, are actual individual episodes, but just on the pages. So that's also really cool. So if you watch a show, but you can get the book and then read the episode at that point.
Yep.
Really, what I'm just going to say, we need Stars back in the theaters.
Yeah,
I mean, we need something to save the theaters.
It's always built for the big screen.
Yeah, so.
But how many times do we have to listen to, hey, we're going to do this, hey, we're going to do that, and then we can't, and then they cancel it because.
I mean, but like this still had $200 million funding. This could have been a movie. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's just,
well, I think actually, if I was going to say anything about the format, which Star Wars to me, I'll consume all of it. I don't really care. But I think some of the episodes here could have been combined into like one episode, and then instead of 2 seasons, we could have had 1 season with hour-long episodes. I think that's why I appreciate like Game of Thrones.
The full long episodes,
the full hour-long episode, and
if you're satisfied.
I do feel like that Star Wars could take a lot from that and do that, and if Marvel, same thing as a lot of the Marvel shows that are the same format. They're very short episodes, and then you have to wait a week to pick up the next part of the story.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm saying I still enjoy the series. It could be better. That's I really miss the theaters. That's my final thought on that.
Still at least have a year to wait.
Oh my god.
So check out Hyperspace Props for all your cosplaying and sabacc needs. Use code BUNTA for 10% off your order at www.hyperspaceprops.com. Hyperspace Props is the title sponsor for Bunta Eve Special Edition.
The funny thing is, Mike actually can't see what we're doing. I don't.
Oh, he can't. Can you see us on the bottom? No.
Oh my god. Jonathan and I have like you ever see that was it the Jimmy Fallon Live when Will Ferrell and Chad Smith go at it with the drums?
Oh yes,
Yeah, that's what Jonathan and I do when those things get played and you're talking. We're just sitting here doing this.
Hey, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors. You hear that, Spencer?
Please like and subscribe. No, go ahead, poke it. Poke the bear.
No. No.
Change the ticker tape. Change your ticker tape.
Please like and change ticker tape.
Oh yeah, here I can read this one, John.
Yeah,
be sure you're following us on YouTube at Virtual Cantina Network, on Instagram.
At
Virtua.Cantina Network, on X, formerly Twitter, at Cantina Virtual, on Threads at Virtual.Cantina Network, on Hive at Virtual Cantina, and on TikTok at Virtual Cantina. And always make sure you head on over to our Facebook page, Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025. And big shout out to the partner pages, Star Wars Book Nerds and Star Wars Comic Book Club.
Please like. Yes. May the Force be with you. Bye-bye.